Okay, hi, I think we're live. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight. My name is Sarah, and I am the campaigns director here at Fandom Forward. And I am so excited about this event and this campaign that we're doing all summer. So I'm very excited to jump in. But first, I have a few things that I want to say before we welcome our wonderful guests to the live stream. The first being Happy Esther Day. Today is August 3rd, and it is Esther Day. And for those of you who have been around Fandom Forward for a long time, you will be familiar with this holiday. But for anyone who is new and joining us for this campaign, maybe for the first time, Esther Day is a holiday that is championed by our pals over at The Star Won't Go Out, which is an organization that supports families facing childhood cancer. And Esther Day is celebrated in memory of Esther Earl, who was a nerd fighter and fan activist herself, and it's celebrated on her birthday each year. And it is all about celebrating friendship and platonic love and showing your family and friends unabashed love and affection. So we encourage everyone to take a moment to tell those that you love them today. And I think that's a great reminder as we are talking about activism and learning from activists today that, to remember those who are in your corner and those who are supporting you and let them know that you love them. And with that, I'm so happy to welcome some new friends to Fandom Forward tonight and can't wait to hear a little bit more from them. This panel that we are doing as part of our Book Defenders campaign, our summer campaign to support the universal right to book access by getting books into the hands of those who need them. So we are donating books to our communities. We are training this summer to learn how to fight effectively against book bans. And we're going to be doing some creative action in the form of writing workshops towards the end of the summer. And so tonight is one of our training sessions, and we're going to be training by listening to some incredible student activists who have done this work themselves, who have been fighting against book bans in their communities, and see what we can learn from them. So super excited to have them join in just a second. Before we do, I want to mention just a few things. We would love if people engage with us in the comments on the YouTube live stream. Just know that there's like a 20 to 30 second delay as to when we see your comments. Just in case you had any questions or anything like that, we will get to them, but it takes us just a second to see them. And feel free to put any questions for our panelists in the chat. We will try to have a few minutes at the end to do a little bit of Q&A. And as we are talking during this hour, feel free to take a look at our webpage for this campaign. It's fandomforward.org/bookdefenders, and it has all of the information that you should need about our campaign, how to get involved, how to support, and all that fun stuff. So with that, I think we will bring on our panelists to introduce themselves. We have quite a lot of panelists tonight, which is very exciting. So let's just give it a second. Okay, I think that is everyone. Yes. All right, so thank you again, first of all of you for joining us tonight. We are so excited to talk with you. And let's start with just some intros. Your name, your pronouns, and also what kind of brings you here to this panel tonight. What have you done to fight against book bans? You can make it very brief for the intro. I know some of you have formed banned book clubs, and some of you have done some other things. If you're a part of an organization, you can mention that as well here. So I'm just going to go in the order of my screen. So Ida, do you want to start?
Yeah, hi, my name is Eva Gupta. I use she, her pronouns. And I'm at the panel today because fellow peers and I protested a book ban that was placed on diversity education books at my school district in this past year.
Awesome, thank you. Ava, you want to go?
Yeah, Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Awesome. I'm Eva Curtley. I use she, her pronouns. I formed a band book club after a group in my school district was trying to challenge 4 books all about queerness and or race.
All right. How about Ella and Alyssa?
Hey, I'm Ella,
And I'm Alyssa.
and we're co-presidents and co-founders of the Vandegrift High School Band Book Club.
Awesome. Renee, you want to go?
Yes, hi, I'm Renee Ellis. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a part of PARU. As Ida mentioned, we're the group that helps reverse the book ban in our school district.
That is awesome. Christina?
Hello, my name is Christina Ellis. My pronouns are she, her, and like Ida and Renee said, I am a part of Peru, the Panther Anti-Racist Union, where we work to protest a book ban at our school district.
All right. And Olivia, I think you're the last one.
Hi, I'm Olivia Katuk. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm also a part of PARU, the Panther Anti-Racist Union, and we all help to reverse a ban that was in our school district.
Awesome. Yes, I can't wait to hear more about that reversing of a ban. That sounds amazing. So to start, the first question that I want to ask that I think will help everyone watching is to kind of take us all back to the moment where you decided that you wanted to do something about the book bans that were facing your community. What was it that made you realize how important of an issue this was? And what was kind of that spark that motivated you or inspired you to get involved? And I'll kind of leave it open to see who wants to answer first. Anyone can go first.
Well, I think for me, with this book ban, the spark that kind of made me want to mobilize was this feeling that like enough is enough. So in my school district, I had all my 13 years of schooling in the school district. So when I found out about this ban, it wasn't even directly from the school board of my school. It was from like a secondary local news source. And I had even talked to the board previously about, implementing more diversity education in the district because I had firsthand experienced the lack of this through like racism and microaggressions I got for being Indian American. So like I knew that this had been a problem, that this was a problem, and that action had to be taken. But what I said to the school board obviously didn't resonate, and they just went forward in their efforts to not be a more diverse and inclusive school district. So when this ban came out, I just felt betrayed and isolated, but I just felt like this urgency because I had talked to the board before, and there had been no steps or no actionable change being made. So at that moment I was like if no actionable change is being made by my words, like our action has to be the next step to take. Like this is my turning point. Like we're gonna have to take a step because I didn't want future generations of students in my district to go through the same thing I did because I felt personally responsible for that happening to younger generations and younger students who would like either not appreciate their peers for the diversity that they brought or feel like they're less than for their diversity. So that was kind of my turning point.
Yeah, that's great. And I think it's really powerful that you mention thinking about the future generations as well and that responsibility. Definitely, yeah, something to think about in all of our activism. And yeah, I like your thinking of just enough is enough. Like you had tried these things before and it wasn't working. So you had to do something, feeling compelled. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Anyone else from Paru want to share if they had a different spark of inspiration, or Ella and Alyssa can also share?
So our kind of spark happened, I think it was last summer. We kind of hit a point, it was kind of at the point where COVID, where we were kind of cut off from school. We weren't going because it was all online. But my mom worked at our high school, and she had told us that our board had taken out, it was 11 books from our classroom libraries. And Ella and I had no idea that happened. They weren't letting us know in classrooms. They weren't telling, the board hadn't told us. They weren't letting students know that this was happening. And Ella and I had read some of these books and we had enjoyed them a lot. And we kind of hit a point and we said, what can we do about this?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think that both of these groups have mentioned that the school had not said anything to the students about these bans. It seems like that was common to both of your experiences, and I'm sure that there is a reason that they were not, these bans were not being communicated directly. So after, you have this spark of inspiration, that you want to do something about the book bans. What was kind of the first step that you took? Did you, have to do some research? Did you have to form a team, or did you go straight into organizing or protesting? Or what was that first step that you took to fight against these book bans?
Well, for us as the Panther Anti-Racist Union, I think the what we did was mobilize with each other as students first. We talked amongst each other and decided that we could not stand for this, and that we all had the sense of urgency when we came together. We all knew that something had to be done. So we went to our advisors, we went to each other, and when we went to our advisors, we asked and we were saying what can you do about this, and they kind of flipped the question to us, and we're like, what are you going to do about it? So that was our moment where we were like, yeah, we have to mobilize, we have to take action, we have to be very physical and seen about this issue. So I think our first step that we took was definitely being very seen. So the day after the ban happened, we had a blackout at school where students could show their support for our cause and wear all black to school, showing their support for the reversal of this ban. And then the Monday after that, that was on a Friday, we started to do, physical protests outside the school on the sidewalk, so that, parents and teachers and students that were walking into school off the buses could just see us holding signs. Things like education is not indoctrination and my voice matters, things like that. So either the people watching us could either be like, oh, what is happening in the school district? Or, wow, our students really, really do care about what's happening in this district. And I think we knew that this was the next step we had to take because I had talked to the board. So our phrase during this time was conversations didn't work. So maybe our physical action would.
Yeah, that's very very interesting to know what, that for you all, it seems it was very much about visibility and getting the issue front and center and very physical, which can one of you remind me, what was the time frame that you were working on this action? Was it, I'm sure if it was not post pandemic, because we're still in the pandemic, but once schools were reopened again, that would be that much more powerful. But when was it that you all were working on this, these protests and this action?
So for our protesting, the book ban was initiated in early September, around that time of 2021. So
Okay.
that is when we found out, and that is when we started protesting. That early week of September that's when we started protesting the book ban.
Okay, got it. Yeah, and then for Ella and Alyssa, what was the first step that you both took once you kind of decided to do something about these book bans?
I think our first step was to really get in contact with other students because, like Alyssa said, our district was not really telling us that this was an issue. It was really kind of underground. So first we kind of started telling our friends, and they told their friends, and from there we kind of started our club just by getting other students involved. So I think that would probably be our most notable step.
Yeah, so again, that seems kind of similar with the other group we have here, kind of mobilizing with other students and with each other. But I know, Ida, that you mentioned some teacher advisors that you went to as well. Did you have some support from the staff, and what was that like? Was it, you know, helpful? Did they give you any advice besides, I know you mentioned that they said you all need to do something about this, but what was the kind of support, if any, that you had from some of those advisor staff members? Any of you can answer from Paru.
Well, no, go ahead, Olivia. Go ahead.
I can actually touch on this kind of briefly, and then I'll let Renee fill in. My mom is a teacher in the district, so I had her backing. She was backing all of us, and she was coming to protests and helping us out, and kind of gathering that information. But a lot of her school, like coworkers, came to protests. We had a lot of teachers actually come out to the community protests, which was really, really awesome to see, and it was really I think touching for all of us, because it wasn't just like our high school teachers. It stretched down into elementary school too. So it was really cool reuniting with them in that way, like all of us joining together to fight for diversity, basically. So that was really, really awesome to have. But I mean, yeah, we definitely had staff that were too scared to say anything, which is absolutely understandable. Because I mean, their jobs were definitely on the line if they would speak out. And but we did get quite a few teachers and staff that would help us and that we could talk to about it. I had a few that I would go and just like rant to, and we would talk about what needed to change in the district and things like that. It was definitely really, really nice to have. And it was a pleasantly surprising kind of turnout to see that. So.
Yeah, sounds like it.
I'm sorry. I was going to say we have two main advisors for Paru. So Mr. Hodge and Miss Jackson, they've kind of been like our cheerleaders, mentors, supporters, therapists throughout this whole entire event. Yeah, they've been with us since day one, and they helped us put our group together. They helped make sure that we didn't break any school rules with protesting. Like Mr. Hodge was the one that told us like we need to make our own signs and not have people bring signs to the protest because we don't want just anything being written, right? And us showing that from the school. So they've been really great mentors. There are several teachers that, like Olivia said, that it's a pleasant surprise to see that many people come out, especially teachers from different school districts or different schools, in our district. But the support was beautiful to see. Also, our parents have been huge support systems as well. I feel like parents don't get enough like love for the work and the support that they put into their own students, into their own kids, and like we wouldn't be able to do things like this, wouldn't be able to be at those types of protests without our parents. So yeah, our advisors are these like teachers that came out the floorboards to help us. They're great, and our parents.
That's awesome. Yeah, because you never really know, if you're going to get backlash from your community or support. So it's great to hear that you all at least had quite a few teachers and parents supporting you. So you all touched on this a little bit in different ways, especially the Paru group with the protests that you organized and were doing. But if you could tell us a little bit more about what actions you ended up taking to fight against these book bans. So protests or forming a banned book club, and a little bit about why you chose those actions over other actions, maybe having a petition go around or asking people to send emails. Why did you end up organizing the specific action that you did?
So for Paru, I think we chose protesting over all else, like you said, petitions or having people send emails, just because when you're in school and when you're in that type of environment, it's easier just to have people gather together, right? And it's easy. It's early in the morning, do it before school starts. All I have to do is just stand outside. It was the cheapest, the easiest, it just made the most sense to protest. And it was the most effective too. I feel like there's nothing quite like people standing in front of you, visibly and verbally telling you exactly how they feel about a situation. So it was the best thing for us to do. And I feel like it had the most impact on our school because they were able to see us, their own peers, standing outside the school, or they were able to see us from the buses. So it was able to have that direct impact that we were looking for because we didn't want to shy away from it. Ida's was talking with the school district for quite some time before the book ban even started. And so conversations, like you said, didn't work. And having meetings with the school board and trying to talk to teachers, that wasn't working as well. So we had to pull a big stop out and say, let's get to the front of the line. Let's really show our faces about this and let them know that we won't be silenced about this issue. So I think that all other methods are great as well, but for us, that was it made the most sense.
I want to add a little bit to that. I think that one of the reasons why our story is really special is because that we protested before school started. So it was early in the morning, earlier than school normally is, high school normally is for people. So to have kids who want to get up early, get to school early, to stand outside and to stand up for what they believe in is really special because it shows that the kids care. You can ask a lot of high schoolers, they're not really excited for their 8 a.m. classes. They would much rather sleep in or whatever. But for them to get up early and really stand up for a cause is something really special. And I think that that's what really had a solidifying impact with our story and with our community because the kids cared.
And I think another thing in this is protest was our main form of like taking action, but we did have the other little things like underneath. We had a lot of, well, first of all, we attended all of the board meetings, or at least tried to get at least a few PARA representatives to each board meeting. We did have a petition going. That kind of just like spread awareness a little bit and got people like realizing what was happening and kind of helped us like kind of figure out where our support like was and like how many people did sign it. And it was cool seeing like the number rise, and we had a fundraiser going, and we were definitely taking a lot of action in our club. So we definitely used protest as our main form of like taking action and like giving this awareness and stuff like that. And that is what helped us take off. But within the community, not just like nationally and things like that, it was a lot about just simply talking about it, having those conversations, showing up at board meetings, having the petition float around, using social media. All of those were like the underlying details that made a significant more difference than you might have, kind of imagined. So.
Yeah, that's all really awesome to hear. As an online organization, we use social media all the time in our activism, but you all also incorporated the, in-person protests. And I really like what you said, Christina, about students coming out early really did show that you all were serious and cared about this a lot. So those are some really good tips for our community as we are learning to fight against book bans this summer, to do something that really shows how much you care about this issue. Eva, I know you've been having some connection issues, so I hope it's all good now, but we'll turn to you really quick since you haven't had the chance to talk yet. If you could just tell us, quickly why you decided to fight against these book bans in your community, and kind of what was the first action that you took? Was it forming a book club, asking people to sign a petition, protesting? What was it that you did in your community?
I'm sorry, can you repeat your question? My phone froze.
Sure. No issues. I was just wondering, what was it that kind of, motivated you to fight against these book bans in your community, and what was that first action or first step you took to do so?
There was a group in our community that was calling themselves For Our Kids, and sort of saying, like, speaking on behalf of our children, who, like, these were a lot of people who were sort of very far removed from the school district. They had, like, grandchildren and, like, friends of their niece were in the schools, and they were trying to challenge these 4 books, well, speaking for us. And I think it was really frustrating to a lot of students at my school of just like, they're saying that this is what we want, but it's really not. So it was a level of sort of anger and frustration at that. And then my school has a bunch of sort of justice activism based clubs, and they all sort of got together one day and went to a school board meeting to talk about the book bans, to say like, this is what students really want to happen, and it's not what these people are saying we want. And that really motivated me to see, okay, these are my peers and they really do care about this. If I was to take some sort of action, I think there would be people who would, agree with me and help and follow. And that ended up happening. I started a banned book club. Within 48 hours of the board meeting I went to, we had a GoFundMe set up, and we were buying what we thought was going to be 20 copies, but then 40 copies of each of these books that we then distributed to my classmates and people from my school to just get the word out and talk about them.
That's awesome. Wow, 48 hours. You really moved quickly on forming that club. That's awesome. And Ella and Alyssa, I kind of forgot what my original question was, but I think we were talking about, so what was the action that you ended up organizing? I think for both of you it was also a banned book club, but was there anything else going on, or can you tell us a little bit more about what specifically you do in your banned book club?
So in the beginning, our club was just we started out just kind of reading these books and talking about them, just like you would in a classroom kind of scenario book club. But that's how it kind of started. But as it gotten further and further, we started realizing that the district could use our opinions because student opinions weren't being taken into consideration when these book bans were being, made. And so I think we kind of write statements to the reconsideration committees, and after we finish every book, explaining what we learned from the book and what we would have not been able to take away from it had it not but it not being there, what it would have contributed if it were there, and so we've done that. And then during the summer, we got to partner with the Austin Public Library and Book People to do
a band camp series where we got to teach other students in the area how to fight book censorship in their districts, which was a really cool opportunity.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that was, you said with local libraries, you're training other students to do similar actions?
Exactly.
That's awesome. And I feel like this can kind of segue into my next question pretty well. So we've talked about, our first steps and what action you ended up organizing, but what has the impact of that action been? So maybe we'll start with Ella and Alyssa again. With you sending these letters to the reconsideration committee, has anything changed as of yet, or are you still working on, getting those changes? Are these books still banned in your district currently? Is there anything you're kind of working on at the moment? But just generally, what has the impact of your action been?
Okay, so our reconsideration committees, I want to say we've read 7 books, 7 out of the 11. So we've made statements for all of those. And when we send them in, librarians will actually read them to the reconsideration committees as a part of the student opinion on the books. And so far, I want to say one of the novels has been put back in the classrooms, Kiss Number 8. And so far, the other 10 are still banned, which is amazing. But, so we're just really glad that we got that one back on the shelf.
But we are working and trying to get more and more back in, because it's always an uphill battle, but we're trying to get there. And everyone's support that we've gotten support from our teachers, our librarians, and we've got a lot of online support, which helps also.
Yeah, you really have to celebrate those small wins in your activism. So like you said, the fact that one book is no longer banned is definitely something to celebrate. And I think we talked with you all about what action people can take to support what you're doing. And you had mentioned emailing the reconsideration committee to ask them to include student voices and student representation on that committee. So that is something that our community can help out with as well, sending those emails. So for anyone watching, go to our webpage to send those emails and help these students out. And yeah, Paru, what about all of you? I mean, I know you mentioned already that you got the bans reversed, but if one of you could tell us a little bit more about that, how it happened and what exactly that means.
So, the ban was reversed on September 27th of 2021. I believe that is the correct date. And what happened was it was a board meeting that Monday. We had just gotten back from a 200 plus community protest where there was songs and there were speeches, and the whole community gathered outside of the school district's main building to continue to protest the book ban. And that evening, we all went home, got on Zoom, and we're at the minutes for the reversal of the book ban, where several community members talked about how they wanted the ban reversed and how their personal stories. And it was a unifying moment to finally see that the works of 70 plus students, 4 student officers and 2 advisors, and faculty and staff and community members and parents, all of the work cumulative have made a difference and made a change. And it was a really great moment. I remember we all hopped in our group chat and hey, it got finally happened. We were just so happy. We were so excited. And we knew that it wasn't going to end there. And it hasn't. Since the reverse of the book ban, we are at Peru during our school meetings, our school club meetings. We had book discussions. We worked on diversity social that happened at our school this past school year. That happened. It was another way to celebrate culture within our community. A lot of community unity. Community members still talking together, still connecting together because of the unifying within that protest. Us at Peru, we got a chance to speak out about our actions. Ida and I got to go up to the Pennsylvania State Capitol and talk about our story. Olivia and I went up to Congress in Washington, D.C. to talk about our story. And it's just so many opportunities have happened for us to share our story and to help inspire others who are going through similar situations that we went through, to know that it doesn't have to end with a sad story. But if you keep on pushing, keep on pressing on, you'll find a silver lining. You'll find a way to get it through. Either that be a reversal of the ban or a way to unify people within your community to help out and encourage each other and to see what you can do within the midst of the situation. So the impact was huge, and it was something that we can never forget, and our community can never forget, because it really was a turning point in our history as a community.
And to kind of hop right off of that, we have got people in our community, and we have kind of educated the students and the community members, parents, staff, and everyone is aware of what is happening, and they understand now the weight of it. So it's significantly harder now for the board or for the school district in any way to put a ban back in place or to attack the rights of any minority group, again, because we're ready for it. We know what to look for. We know what to expect. And we have so many community members who are not going to have it, and who are aware and who are ready to fight back, especially since, Ida, Christina, and I were all seniors. So we were seniors. We graduated. So we're not there anymore. But Renee is the new president of Paru, and we have so many people now underneath that understand what's happening and are really, really ready to make change happen. So that has been also very, very, very cool to see.
Yeah, and just one more point. I think that Christina touched on this a little bit, how we had exposure, Olivia and Christina had exposure at Congress, and me and Christina had exposure at the Capitol. And I think what really built up to the reversal is how much exposure we had, how many people were trying to get our story out, how much media attention we had, how much we were speaking, and how much people like knew our story, how much people knew our message. So it kind of got to a point to the board members, even if they hadn't changed their mind about like reversing this ban, even if they felt like set in their beliefs, it just kind of came to a point where we were getting so much media attention and so much support from our external community that they felt the need to reverse this ban. So, along with the community members and the direct support we also got a lot of, support that we weren't able to see, but we felt it. And it was definitely portrayed in like this whole reversal of the ban.
Yeah, that's a great point to remember, like how powerful the media can be as well. I actually think that I heard about all of you and Christina specifically through a Washington Post article. So that is also how, I heard about your story. So that's definitely important to remember to try and, make those relationships or reach out to the press so that more and more people can be aware of these issues. Because like all of you have said, the school was implementing these bans without telling you all. And if the students don't even know, how is the wider community going to know what's going on? So very, very inspiring to hear not only the success that you all had with reversing the ban, but also just with garnering this awareness and support. And Olivia, as you said, all of that just makes it so much harder for the censorship to continue. So that is great going forward. I'm not sure if Eva is on audio. Eva, are you there just on audio? I'm not sure. I know she's having a lot of connection issues. Okay, she's reconnecting. We will get back to Eva in just a minute. We had a question from the chat that I think I would really love to hear all of your thoughts on. The question is from Katie. What were some of the obstacles that happened during your campaigns and how did you overcome them?
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say one of the biggest obstacles that were really thrown at Paru was whenever the school board actually doubled down on their ban after we had been protesting and speaking out. And I'm sure that the rest of my peers here can kind of touch on it more and go more in detail. But it was pretty hard for us because we'd been working really hard. We had been trying to figure everything out, making conversation, like getting into all of that. And to see the board then like not even budge on it, it felt like we weren't being heard at all. It felt like it was kind of like a defeating moment for us for a while, but our advisors definitely helped us get back on track and realize that like the hard parts, the low moments, those things happen. You just got to work through them and you'll eventually, see the light again. So.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the feeling and the day exactly I got that email from the board, doubling down on the ban. It was like an email saying that, we hear your, we see your protests, we've seen what you've done, but, we're still going to stay set in this book ban, and we believe that these books should stay out of the libraries. And I was just sitting there in the library at my school, and it was such a moment of like distress and like despair where I felt like this failure that like there was just no way that I could go on after this. Like we had tried so hard, and it was like the first time I'd ever cried in school. Like I hadn't in my 13 years. But I was in one of our advisors' rooms, and I just started like bawling because it was just an influx of emotions where I just felt this like defeat. But I think that what we mainly took away from that experience was that like it ended up being reversed in the end. So in activism, I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned is persistency is so key. So like, I think failures are always going to come in activism. They're inevitable. But, what you have to do about it is like look at the bigger picture. Because at that time I was looking very narrowly. I was not looking at the bigger picture. And I thought it was all over for our efforts, but it really wasn't.
Yeah, definitely. That's very important to, like you said, failure and making mistakes even is kind of inevitable in activism. And you just gotta take a minute to maybe cry, maybe, figure out a way to kind of regroup and then move forward. I totally agree with that. Ella and Alyssa, what about both of you? Any obstacles that you faced or are currently facing, and how did you overcome them?
Most definitely, our district is, I don't know the right word for it, but like they kind of don't want this to be happening. And I think in the past year, Ella and I have gotten a lot of media attention for what we do as a club and what we represent. And I think right now they don't allow students on their reconsideration committees. And Ella and I have been trying. Our whole club has been trying to get students on reconsideration committees so that actual student perspective can be taken into account if these books and when they have requests for them to be pulled out of the library or the classroom libraries. And I think we've kind of narrowed down from trying to take on unbanning the books as a whole and trying to go through, like, kind of slip into the system and figure out a way from there.
Yeah, our district's really trying to kind of downplay the issue and make it seem like it's not as big as it is, which is really frustrating as students because we're really trying to get these books back as something that means a lot to us. And I think the board members just kind of denying it a lot is really what's making it frustrating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can definitely see that. It's hard to talk with people about an issue if they don't recognize that it is an issue, you know. So yeah, that can definitely be a huge obstacle in any type of activism, really, when kind of the other side or the community as a whole isn't supporting you and isn't even on the same page, you know, in terms of what the issue is. So we talked about kind of these challenges that you have had in your campaigns. But can you also tell us about a moment when you felt really proud of your activism? For Paru, I know you all mentioned the reversing of the ban. So if there are any, you can talk about that more for sure. But if there are any other moments along the way that you felt really proud of what you were doing.
I think there were a lot of like kind of checkpoints along the way that kind of really had a lot of meaning to us and gave us a lot of motivation to keep going. And there are like little victories along the way and little moments of success. There are smaller ones and there are bigger ones. I would say one of the biggest two, personally for me, besides the reversal of the ban, would probably have to be speaking in front of Congress and the second community protest we had. The second community protest was, I know that it was over 200 people. I'm not sure how much over. I can't remember the exact number. But we had a lot of people show up to our second community protest. And it was so beautiful to see everyone come together, to see everyone just in support of each other and loving. And it was just such a good community of people. And there was such a bond and a connection between everyone. And we had people speaking. I sang with one of my friends. And it was just such a beautiful, beautiful event. And it was really touching. And it was kind of a moment for us to step back and realize, like, we were able to spread this awareness. Like, we were able to get this many people out in support of diversity and kind of joining us in that fight. So that was definitely a big moment. But for speaking in front of Congress, that was definitely huge for me also because it kind of let me know that people had heard my voice and trusted me to kind of portray to Congress what they needed and what everyone else in that same fight needs. So it was truly an honor to be able to speak there, and it was truly an honor to be chosen and to have that kind of responsibility of using my voice to spread the message and to bring awareness and to use what I kind of the platform that we have all made because we've been protesting for so long and kind of working on our activism, to be able to use that platform and that, that attention to try to initiate change and let people realize that they can do stuff and that their voice matters and has impact and can make a change. So I think those two are just like really, really, really big moments of success and moments where I was very, very proud of the work that we had been doing as a group.
To kind of touch on that a little bit, of course, with Congress and the state capitol, those events and others like those were very humbling and just once in a lifetime opportunities that you just cannot take for granted. But one that I really want to highlight is we had one of the community members in our community, her name's Hannah. She got together like over 1,000 books, and she got together this Amazon list where people from across the country bought books from the banned list to then be distributed into the community. So I remember like seeing her post of like stacks of Amazon packages all over her porch and everything, and she was going through these books and had little notes from people in like Nebraska and Wyoming and places from all over the US. And it was she had a book distribution, and the books were gone in a matter of minutes. Like over 1,000 books, 2,000 possibly, in a matter of minutes were gone. And I remember Renee and I were coming from school, and I was driving, and I was trying to get there as fast as possible without getting pulled over. And we got there, and we're like, where are the books? Where are the books? And like, they're all gone. And I was like, what do you mean they're all gone? And just to see the community getting together, little kids like reading the books to each other was so cute. And to see everyone just so happy, and there was food, which I love food. There was food there too. And it was just a great moment to see that the community was also getting engaged, and Hannah's an amazing person. And for her to really take that initiative and do that was great. And it was just so much fun. And I think that was really another good thing that came about from our community getting together for a good cause.
I mean, I think for me, I definitely agree with what Olivia and Christina are saying. And for me, I think it was just those moments that were validated for me, like what we're doing is the right thing. There's a lot of hesitation at the beginning. I wasn't really sure, I was so insecure in our in my activism, especially being an Indian American woman. It's just like not something you see in our community. So those moments where we had a CNN interview or had been called to Kelly Clarkson, or like these types of opportunities that we got, just revalidated my belief that like we were doing the right thing. People wanted to see more of us, and that like our message was meaningful, and it needed to be spread in our community. And I don't think until I started this activism I really realized how significant and important and impactful and powerful our stories really are, and continue to be.
Eva, it looks like your connection is maybe back, at least for the moment. Is there a moment you want to share from your campaign or your activism where you felt really proud of what you were doing?
Where I was really proud of what I was doing? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Awesome. Sorry, it's still a little glitchy. Hoping this works. So I did the band book club. The interesting thing was we were meeting all on Zoom, and for every meeting we brought in a different facilitator to talk about these books. And for our fourth book, the final book we read, it was All Boys Aren't Blue, and we actually got George M. Johnson, the author, to come visit us and speak with us on their book and talk about their journey as both an author and sense like just how their life has changed with the challenges and bans across the nation. And seeing like such a sort of high profile person in these discussions about book challenges and book bans come to like my little group of people from my small town in rural like southeastern Washington to discuss these things. And it felt like a moment of really being taken seriously and really feeling like we have a voice and we can make change, and these things are all very possible. And it was a very sort of tangible moment for me.
That's awesome. Our book club actually just read All Boys Aren't Blue. and it's a great book for anyone watching who hasn't read it. And we didn't get George to join our book club, so yeah, definitely you should feel very proud of that. That's awesome. Ella and Alyssa, anything you want to add? Any moments where you were really proud of your work?
I think a moment where we were really proud, at least where I was really proud, at the beginning of the school year, our club had 6 members. It was really just a small group of friends, and we were meeting in our school library. We were barely even a club at that point. But our last meeting of the school year, we invited board members to our meeting to hear our discussion and propose our idea about getting students on the reconsideration committees. And I think hearing our members talk and seeing how we've grown throughout the year was just so amazing. I love all our members. They're so amazing and they're so passionate. And I think seeing how we've changed and how we've become more confident and speaking to the board members was just really inspiring, because we started off as a group of friends with just meeting in the library, and we turned into a club that tripled in size throughout the year. And I think that just made me feel really proud.
That's definitely something to feel proud of. That's a huge accomplishment, and it's always awesome to see growth within your community as well. We have a few more minutes. I think we have time for this other question from the chat from Katie. Do you have any thoughts on how to try and pass down your history kind of within your school? Maybe Renee, this might be a good question for you to tackle, since you all mentioned that, you know, 3 of you are seniors and moving on, and now Renee, you're the president. So any thoughts on how future students in your district can learn that they aren't the first activists fighting for change in the school, or just how you pass down kind of the knowledge of your activism?
Well, my first hope would be that our club will still be up and running even long after we're gone, right? So that would be our main way to pass down the history of what we've done and the history of activism in our school district, you know, to the future high schoolers that are coming up. But also, I think it's just important to talk about these things, right? I feel like our teachers and our administrators and our principals, they should be the one who are really pressed for questions like these, because it's their job, right? To teach us our history, to teach us the importance of the things that are going on. Like, it shouldn't be that both our group and Ella and Alyssa didn't know about the book ban until way after it already happened, right? That shouldn't be that way. It should be direct communication to our students, and it should be our administrators and our teachers who are the ones who are pushing for us to have a holistic education. Things shouldn't be hidden. Our history shouldn't be handpicked, right? We only want to talk about certain things over here, but nothing over here, right? So our group, I know that the officers that are coming up in the group that's coming up now, really excited, because a lot of the freshmen are really eager to get involved and to start talking about these issues. So we're going to continue to push that and continue to feed into that energy and encourage people to speak up. I feel like, you know, stories and history gets passed down throughout the years the best through word of mouth, right? How we communicate with one another, the stories that we wish to share, our experiences. That's a big part of it, you know, like our experiences. Even when they go off to college, Christina, Eden, and Olivia, like, they could still tell their stories to people in their colleges, and that continue to further push the awareness of book bans across America. So continue to share our stories, continue to feed into the younger generations and to feed their energy. I feel like there's a lot of high schoolers who are eager to do something and they want to speak up, but they just don't know how. They don't have an outlet, right? So that's why panels like these, like students like these, is great to have, because they continue to help encourage people to speak up. Like Ella and Alyssa said, when they saw their friends, you know, get more confident, you know, at the last meeting, like, that's a big part of it. That's those good moments that we all really root for, and that's how our history will be preserved, through our speaking life and speaking hope and positivity into other people and continuing them to want to push themselves and to speak up for what they believe in and just pushing for what's right. I feel like there's no easy way to say, like, this is exactly how we're going to make sure that we're never forgotten, but we're going to try our best and we're going to keep going. Like, I feel like that's the one thing in life, like, you got to keep showing up for yourself. you never know what life's gonna throw at you, but you got to keep going. So that our continue to go and continue our club to continue to move forward. That's a huge part of it.
Yeah, it seems like definitely a theme of what we've been talking about tonight is persistence and keep going and moving forward. So yeah, definitely everyone watching, keep that in mind as you're, working on these book bans and your own activism. We have about 5 minutes. So I wanted to ask one last question. Anyone can answer before we do like just outros and ask you all to let us know where to follow you and what you're working on. But I wanted to know if anyone had any specific advice that they wanted to impart to the people watching. We're training our community to fight against these book bans. So any specific advice? We've obviously mentioned a bunch of advice throughout this hour, but anyone want to add anything? Anything you would tell people who are working on these fighting against book bans?
I mean, something that I've been kind of saying a lot throughout my entire activism and through this entire time is that your voice has so much more meaning than you think it does. I mean, kids are told all the time that their voice is irrelevant and it doesn't have like meaning and it doesn't have impact. But we have kind of proven that our voices absolutely have impact and we can absolutely be the change. And that was kind of that's like a big game changer piece of advice to kind of realize or to kind of understand. Because once we realized that our voices were being heard, that gave us so much more inspiration, motivation, and like courage to really go forward with it, because we realized that we weren't just being thrown under the bus. We weren't just, like speaking to a wall. Like we were being heard and we were like helping change happen. And another thing is all you have to do is break the silence. And that's really, really hard to do. But I kind of have like an analogy that I like to use with it. When you're in like a dead quiet classroom, no one wants to make a sound. No one wants to drop their pencil, write too loud. But the second that someone does make noise, the second that someone does whisper or drop a pencil, once that silence is broken, it's hard to keep the noise down. Conversation starts. It starts with whispers, it goes up to conversations. So if you just break that initial silence, if you get your voice across, if you say words just to like get them out there, people will pick them up. People will realize that they're not alone in their thoughts and join you. People will begin to have the courage because of you to speak out and have that inspiration. And soon you have a growing movement that just is just going and going and going and gaining support and traction. So it's hard to initially break the silence, but you are not alone and your voice has impact and meaning and you will be heard and you will be able to make a change. So I think that's my biggest piece of advice to leave to anyone dealing with any of these type of issues.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Olivia hit a lot of good points. If anybody is going through this stuff at their school district with banning books and having restricted material, like my heart goes out to you. I'm so sorry that's happening in your school district. And if you do take the decision to fight back and be an activist, which I fully support, just make sure to honor your mental health as well. Being an activist can be hard and it's a struggle at times. And there's a lot of, we've all experienced, I know at least in Peru, all of us have experienced activist burnout. All of us had times where we're like, I need to take a step back and I need to honor my mental health. And our advisors really help with that as well. But just make sure, you can get caught up in the craze of things where like, you don't prioritize yourself as an activist. So please make sure to prioritize yourself and how you're feeling, because that is very important too. And have some people that you can rely on, have some support. Like the only reason we were successful in our efforts were because we had this community of people supporting us. We had our mentors, our advisors, my fellow peers here, people that we could rely on when we weren't feeling our best to show up and to do the work when we couldn't. So that's my advice.
Sort of going off of that, I think that recognizing, you're not alone in what you're fighting for, and also like it's okay to ask for help and it's okay to take a step back. Like, you don't have to be, even if you're breaking the silence, which I love that analogy, you don't have to be the sole person to do that. And you can get help from a lot of different places. I know my school librarian, while we were trying to keep the book club sort of separate from school activities, was so helpful in just sort of like just how to distribute books and what kids would be interested in this who haven't said anything to me already, and that sort of stuff of like, it's, if you find people you're able to rely on, it makes your own life so much easier, and it grows your movement and it grows your voice, and everyone knows everyone, at least like everyone knows someone who has some connection to somewhere, which helps with media and helps with getting the word out about things. It's the fact that organizing is so difficult is sort of offset by the fact that it's also sort of a snowball effect. Once it gets started, is like, it is really difficult to start, but once you do and once you find like-minded people, it just grows from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's another great analogy. We have two great analogies now about organizing to break the silence, and that once it gets going, it's sometimes even hard to stop that momentum once you have it, which is awesome. Okay, so we're at an hour. Thank you all so much for joining us. If we could really quickly go each one of you and let us know where we can follow your activism work if it's social media or a website, where would be a good place for people to follow what you're doing. Maybe let's start with Christina.
So to follow Peru, our Instagram is cy.paru. And that is where we have our activism. And then my personal account is christymarie.22, CHRISSYM. Yeah, that one on the screen. There you go.
Oh, there we go. Do we have the banner up? Yeah, awesome. All right. How about Renee?
Yeah, so like Christina mentioned, we have our club Instagram. It is cy.paru. And then I have two personal Instagrams, actually. I have my Instagram, and then I'm also an artist, so I have an art Instagram. My personal Instagram is renee.a.e.renee. Yeah, those two right there. And then the great way to reach us is our website. So PantherAntiracistUnion.com. It's all spelled out. You can find all four of us there.
Awesome. Ida, you want to go next?
Yeah, for our group stuff, Christina, so my Instagram is just Eva Gupta, it's my name, and the other group stuff, Renee and Christina just hit that.
Awesome. Olivia?
So my personal Instagram is Livy_Pitt, but they also talked about all the group stuff and where you can talk to us there. So,
Alyssa and Ella?
You can follow our Instagram, VHS Band. There it is, VHS Band Book Club. We post all our statements and our messages there.
Awesome. Yeah, I've checked that out, and it's very. I recommend everyone go read the statements. They're awesome. And Eva.
My personal Instagram is currently Eva, and that's where I put all of my sort of banned book information.
Great. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you again. This was so informative, so inspiring. I know people in the comments agree with me because they've said so. And I had a really great time talking with all of you. So yes, just a big thank you from Fandom Forward again for joining us, to all of our guests. And really quickly as we wrap up, for anyone watching, we have our next training exactly 2 weeks from today on August 17th, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern. It's our kind of big how to fight effectively against book bans panel. It's going to be similar to this, but we're talking with some representatives from We Need Diverse Books, from PEN America, and from the National Coalition Against Censorship. So it's going to be a really great hour. We're going to learn even more about how to fight against these book bans. And anyone who is watching, you can, we have a kind of friendly competition going on. We call it our House Cup competition for this campaign. And we have 4 houses based on your favorite book genre. And so you can, if you're watching this, you can count this as an action taken. So just go report your points at bit.ly/bookdefenderspoints. And as well as if you donate books or attend any other trainings during our campaign, those all count as points in the House Cup, and your favorite book genre can maybe win. Right now, the lab is in the lead, which means all our people who love nonfiction are winning the competition right now. And yeah, as I said at the beginning, go to fandomforward.org/bookdefenders to learn more about the campaign, to join our book club. We're reading banned books all summer. And to donate to the campaign to help support our work. So that's it. Thank you all again to our guests and to everyone watching, and I hope you all have a good night. Yeah, see you all in 2 weeks at our next training. Bye.